Hey friends, it's Ryan Brown. We're here in the new studio, and I'm here with my good friend Matthias Fretz, who I've been working with for the last 6 years. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about luxury real estate. First, let me tell you about Matthias. So this guy is an absolute beast. 2023 ranked number 4 in the nation and number 3 in Florida at Douglas Elliman. They have over 7,000 agents, probably more than that now. He's ranked 174th in the nation out of 1.5 million agents. Since 2019, has sold over $400 million in real estate, all with no team. So this guy operates on a whole nother level. But what I love most about this guy, Matthias, is not only he's the incredible producer, but he's a family man. 2 beautiful kids and a wife. He always makes time for them. He's involved with his daughter's surfing. He's always going on trips with the family, and just an honest, straightforward guy. So thank you so much for coming in today, Matthias.
Thank you, Ryan. Appreciate you having me.
So finally got you to put your phone down for like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So we're on a tight schedule today. So we're going to be doing some rapid fire questions.
Okay, great. Let's do it.
So first off, tell me, since, I know you're like a 6th generation real estate agent. You were born with the silver spoons in your hands. All your relationships have been given to you. All the leads have been just spoon fed to you over the years. And tell me a little bit about your career starting out.
So exact opposite of that, actually. My dad was a prison psychologist, and my mom, she helped guys get their GED in jail, county jail. So I have no real sales in my family, as salesmanship or salesmen or saleswomen. So it was a really interesting progression of how I got involved in the industry. I graduated from FAU with a degree in marketing, and my goal at that time was to work for the surfing or skateboarding brand to be a marketing rep, like a regional rep was the idea. Yeah. And in 2013, when I got my real estate license, there was really nothing. The brands, there were some openings down in Miami, but I just love this area, so I wasn't about to relocate. And I had a friend, and he was doing okay. He was doing real estate. And I thought, man, if this guy can do it, I can do it, And it was strictly rentals, too. And he told me what he was making, let's say, give or take, like $1,000 a week. And I was like, this guy is rich. Like, this guy is going to buy a helicopter. Like, he is wealthy, So I figured, you know what, I'll do the real estate thing just to hold me over until I find my real job, until I find the job why I got my degree for, And my first year in real estate, I absolutely hated it. Every day showing up, but it was a necessity. I was working for the city of Palm Beach Gardens at the recreation department. I'd worked there for years as the skate park guy. I was the skate park guy. Hey, buckle your helmet, sign in over here at Palm Beach Gardens Skate Park. So I was working the recreation department, the skate park, doing some skate and surf lessons as well, individuals, and then rentals. And rentals is just something I despised. But my first year, I did about 50 rentals. So what happened from that, the progress, was I knew the rental market so well, and what happened from there was I started to meet these investors who own these rental properties as well. And the value that I brought to them was I knew exactly how much they could get for rent. I knew, the tenant profile. I knew how long it would take to get it rented. I knew what improvements to make and not to make with these properties. So unintentionally, I became the source of value for these investors, So then I started representing them on their acquisitions, so duplexes, triplexes. I would say 80% of what I would write in those first couple of years, I didn't sell an actual home until about 9 months in the business. And it was like $70,000 condo. And the value I brought was, like I said, just knowing the rental market. And I would say 80-90% of what I wrote was on Fannie Mae properties. So basically everything I was doing was a foreclosure, and I really learned that process very well and that market. And then the investors started to, they saw how hard I worked, right? It was 7 days a week. Like I didn't have the experience that maybe my competitors had, but that level of communication and getting back to people and finding out information, that hunger, I feel like I really outworked maybe the competitors in that regard. And they started to entrust me with their personal homes. Some of these investors had homes on the water or significant homes in the country club communities, and that's really how I built my business, And the one thing I did too is I don't know if you can still do it, so I'm not making any suggestions on this. But at the time, there was an any broker advertise feature, which I think they still have. And I would take these rentals from, I'm I'm saying Boca all the way up to Stewart, right? And anything from 600 a month to 10,000 a month, right? And I would post 100, 150 at a time. And every 48 hours on Craigslist, you could renew them. So I would have 100, 150. I mean, it would be 200 phone calls a day. Like, I look back on the notes. I kept all my notes too, just stacks and stacks of notes of qualifying these people, you know, finding what they were looking for and pets and credit scores and everything. And sometimes I'll be going through my stuff and I look at these notes and it's incredible. I mean, you know, how many people that I was working with on a constant basis when I was doing the rentals, you know. So
how do you go from posting Craigslist ads to doing a whole bunch of rentals to selling luxury real estate?
So yeah, just like, you know, with the investors entrusting me and getting into their personal homes, you know, being able to sell their homes on the water and being able to get into some of the country clubs and coastal communities where they said, gosh, this guy, you know, he really works hard and I know he's a go-getter. And it just took a few of those clients to really trust me, where then I was able to take that, just the littlest opportunity. And then what I would do too is in the higher end, I would still post when I closed, let's say, an entry-level price point home or first-time home buyer home. You know, I still would post that to show that I was active. But the home that was $1 million or $850 or $1.5 million that I had just closed, repost, post again, e-blast, talking about it. You know, really trying to create that brand and that image of like, oh yeah, Matthias, the $1 million plus stuff, oh, you got to call Matthias. You know, so I might have closed, let's say in a month of January, 10 homes, and 9 of them were 200, 250, 300. I did one for 1.2, and that 1.2 was just going to get all the attention.
Nice. That's so cool. So when dealing with high net worth investors, so you're working with these people that own duplexes, they have their own personal properties, you know, there's a certain kind of profile that these people, high net worth people have or investors have. How do you gain their trust? Like, what's the secret to gaining trust of somebody like that?
Sure. So experience is definitely critical. Knowing your stuff, you know, knowing price per square foot, what the comps were, different, you know, changes that are happening in the community as well. If it's on the water, knowing, oh yeah, this section of the river, it's a shallower draft, or, you know, you've got a lot of mangroves in this area over here, you know, just really being able to have an educated conversation with that person where they say, wow, this guy really, he knows more than just, I'm selling a house, right? I'm selling a lifestyle, and I'm selling, and all the little intricacies that go along with the home. Oh, this was built by this builder, and, you know, they have this type of kitchen. Like, there's so many elements that go into real estate, and if you are knowledgeable and educated on those, they can tell. I mean, these people, everyone's a realtor, right? Everyone, it feels like you walk around Palm Beach County. I read something, this is a few years ago, but it was like 2% of the workforce in northern Palm Beach County says realtor, real sales agent, you know? And some people see that kind of like is disheartening because it's like, oh my gosh, there's so much competition. But there's so much competition that doesn't put in the work, right. You know? So it almost makes the people, the few that do, shine, you know, because there is so much kind of fluff, you know? So going back to the question, really knowing your stuff and showing up, being responsive, being honest. And then once you get in with, let's say, one individual and he or she trusts you, they can sometimes be your best salesperson, because they're going to tell their friends, they're going to tell their family, my gosh, I had such a great experience with Matthias. You know, he found me this just great opportunity. It wasn't on market, or it was on the market, but he was able to negotiate because the relationship we had with the other agent, you know. That's another great thing to speak about, you know, is having a relationship with the agents in your community. Yeah. So important, you know, the people that are top producers, this is a small sandbox up here, you know, showing up to their open house. I might not even have a buyer per se, you know, necessarily for the home that I'm showing up for, but I'm showing up to support that agent. Yeah. Hey, I'm here. Here's my feedback. You know, appreciate you having me over here, and just staying in front of them. And then they'll say, oh, you know what, Matthias, I've been meaning to call you because actually I have, and then the conversation just continues with these other top producers. Yep. And that's definitely been key behind my success as well.
Yeah, I've seen that you've done co-listing with like builders in town and like people, other agents, which is just so cool to see, like two agents from like two different companies working together to sell a piece of property. Mm-hmm. You just don't see that very often. And it's so cool to see agents come together like that in the community. What would you consider luxury real estate? Like when agents talk, oh, I want to start selling luxury real estate. Like, what is luxury real estate to you? Like, what does that mean?
You know, I think as a definition is concerned, it's pretty easy to say, you know, over $1 million is in most markets, right? On a national level, they would say, you know, a 7-figure price point is luxury. Although in our area, you know, in northern Palm Beach County, and especially let's say Palm Beach and West Palm, that's changing rapidly. You know, it's almost becoming, this is just wild to say, but like 700, 800 is, you know, it's becoming in some ways entry level for someone who has, you know, say 2 or 3 kids in northern Palm Beach, in Jupiter and North Palm and Palm Beach Gardens. So there's definitely a bit of an affordability crisis, I would say, in our areas in that regard, you know. But luxury, it depends on the market that you're in, to answer your question, right? Because if you go on Palm Beach, I mean, a teardown is $6, $7, $8, $9, $10 million, right? Depending on the lot size on, let's say, the North End or in town. So I don't know if you could consider dirt luxury, you know. And then Jupiter Inlet Colony, North Palm as well. It's a style, it's a price point, and it depends on where you are location-wise. You know, you go up to Jensen Beach or even further north, let's say in Melbourne, you know, $3.5 million gets you, well, I mean, it gets you luxury for sure. The best way to put it in comparison to our area.
What are you seeing that buyers are looking for, you know, that are coming down from, say, the Northeast, or they're moving here from out of state? Mm-hmm. And they're looking at luxury real estate, maybe in like the 3 to 5 million range or even more. What are some of the features that they want?
So what I would say in that price point, 3, 5, 10, the luxury market, the buyers that are relocating here from the Northeast, and even our local buyers, you know, they're sick of hearing the supply chain issues as it relates to Corona. So they want move-in ready. You know, they want done. Whether it's a brand new construction, which definitely is performing very well, or they want something just fully renovated, furnished even better, bring your toothbrush, just like, I know I'm maybe paying a bit of a premium, but I don't want to babysit contractors for 2 years. You know, I don't want to hear, oh, well, this person, you know, their crew didn't show up because they got stuck on another job, or, you know, your flooring is still not in, or whatever it might be. These people, their time is so valuable. You know, what they can make in the, you know, let's say 300-400 hours overseeing a 2-year build versus what, you know, their vacation time or their time at work, they would much rather just have a product that's done. So I would say, you know, the stuff that's a tear down, total gut, still doing okay. The stuff that's move-in ready, new construction, performing very well. Those in-betweeners, it's kind of a little bit soft right now because even with limited inventory, you know, you walk in, let's say, to a Mediterranean home that was built in 2002, 2003, they're like, wow, it's got great square footage, but, you know, this craftsmanship or this style is just not mine, you know, but it's priced not at a teardown, and it's priced maybe a little bit less than the renovated product. However, it seems like that product can be a little bit more difficult, a little more challenging. But if the sellers are willing to listen, hey, we got to paint it white, or let's stage it, or let's do that, it does well. You know, they still perform well. It's just that's where good guidance and a good agent comes into play. Good relationship between the seller and the agent.
100%. Do you stage most of your homes?
If given the opportunity, I basically always recommend it. Absolutely, because, you know, the style of homes today is a big, great room, typically, right? Open concept. So sometimes these rooms, it's hard to give an identification of, is this the living? Is this the dining? Is this the family room? Yeah. So coming in and seeing and showing how it can live, especially when it's staged too, because it's not personalized items. You know, there's a few companies locally that are fantastic, and they really know how to go in and make it pretty vanilla and come in there. And so really anyone can come in and visualize themselves living there. Versus, say, someone says, oh, I got this piece at RH, and then, you know, my other friend, I got that piece over here, and there's a story behind it, and you can tell, and there's a bunch of family photos everywhere, and it doesn't feel as, like I said, just vanilla. It feels more custom and like you're visiting someone else's home. Yeah. Versus a staged home, it feels like, you know, designer kind of style where you can just walk in and move right in and make it your own. And then a bunch of empty rooms, especially some of these homes that I sell 6, 7, 8, 9,000 under air, can feel a bit overwhelming too, as far as like how they have to furnish it. And it's almost like the brain starts to think, where am I going to put what and how, and I got to get a decorator. It makes it seem like more of a chore. You know, there's going to be a lot of effort that goes into it, but the stager takes that away. And I've done some virtual staging, and that's okay, you know, to blow up a big picture and put it on a stand and show, well, look at, but actually physically staging it, I think is always worth it. Absolutely.
Much difference.
Yeah.
So give me your sales pitch. So somebody's looking at South Florida. They want to move to South Florida. They're looking at northern Palm Beach County, Jupiter, Palm Beach Gardens, Juneau, North Palm. So what's the pitch? Why this area?
Everyone's coming here, you know, and it's really interesting. You know, we get people from Delray, Boca, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, people that maybe have landed in southern Palm Beach County or in Broward, Dade. And, you know, for some people it's a good fit, especially if they like a fast-paced lifestyle coming from New York City or, you know, Chicago or Los Angeles. But it's not for everybody. You know, some people want to come to Florida for that laid-back kind of lifestyle where there's a lot of amenities still, you know, where they can go out to nice restaurants and they can go shopping and close to an international airport, beautiful blue water beaches, and, you know, tennis, pickleball, golf, freediving, spearfishing, surf. I mean, there are so many things that you can do almost every day of the year here. And then, of course, taxes. You know, the taxes has been a big incentive for people with the tax reform, the SALT taxes in the Northeast. And then in addition to that, you know, no income tax, obviously. That's definitely a big draw, and I think continue. You know, in addition to that is the policies. You know, after Corona, a lot of people just felt kind of trapped depending on what state that they were in. And they saw from a distance, Florida, you know, people were going on the beach and out on the boat and kind of still able to live the lifestyle that they lived before Corona. And I think that is definitely a draw for some people that come here as well. But Jupiter, I mean, to me, like Jupiter, North Palm, Gardens, this North County area, I mean, second to none.
Special.
Second to none, truly. You know, it's like every checkbox that someone wants, depending on, you know, with their lifestyle. It's a beautiful place to live.
There's a reason why a lot of famous people live here.
Yeah. And that's a great part of the pitch too, is, you know, like people say, oh, I noticed boom, boom, boom. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, those people and these billionaires and this this hedge fund guy, they could live anywhere, truly anywhere. And they picked right here, you know? So I think it speaks volumes about our area.
Tell me a little bit about the water life. So somebody wants to live in this area and they want to maybe buy a house on the intercoastal or on the water. You know, what are some of the things, what are some of the great things about this area in regards to the water? So fishing, different things that you can do, surfing, proximity to Bahamas. Like, tell me just a little bit about that. Sure.
Yeah, I'll speak, I guess, on my own experience and why there's such a draw there for that is that waves are okay. You know, it's not as consistent as I would like it to be, but sometimes my wife and I, you know, I joke that it's almost good. It's not good every day because we wouldn't be having this conversation. You know, they're nowhere on the rankings. So it's good that there's, you know, definitely a lot of flat days or days where it's unrideable here. But, you know, you could drive a couple hours north and get a little bit out of that Bahama shadow where the surf is a bit more consistent. So, yeah, the Gulf Stream is only, you know, 3 miles offshore here, and you're in here locally, and you're in 120, 130 feet of, you know, deep of water. So the fishing, the bottom fishing, the trolling, it's great here. I mean, there's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of fishermen. There's a lot of commercial guys, rec guys on it, you know, year round because of the weather and what we offer. But the fishing is still great in comparison to other places in the country, you know. And my favorite place is the Bahamas. You know, I do a lot of spear fishing, especially in the summer months. And you know, West End is from Palm Beach Inlet, Lake Worth Inlet is 55 miles. You know, so if you're on the right boat, the right center console, you know, hour and a half, 2 hours, you're checking in Old Bahama Bay. I mean, it's paradise. You know, that crystal clear blue water, and you can just kind of keep growing in whatever it is that you do. Right? Say you get involved in spearfishing, there's a huge community, whether free diving or scuba. Same thing with fishing rod and reel, and you can just, the sky's the limit in this area because of our proximity to the Bahamas, because of the close international airports, you know, Fort Lauderdale, Miami, and PBI. So you want to jump on a plane and go to Central America, it's 2 hours. You know, you want to go to Puerto Rico, it's an hour, you know, hour and a half. It's like, so the opportunities are kind of endless. You know, if you get into those hobbies on the water, you can very quickly grow.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think it's one of the best areas to live. There's unlimited things to do, whether you have a big family or, you know, like we take our kids out like bottom fishing just because it's easy and it's simple and you catch a lot of fish and it's just right there.
Yeah.
2 seconds out the inlet, you're right there in deep water. So I wanted to pull up a couple of your recent sales. Man, these things just blow my mind. So a couple of your recent sales, $34 million sale in Palm Beach, 210 Via del Lago, $11.5 million, 100 Lighthouse Inlet Colony, first 8-figure sale on the Intercoastal in that neighborhood, 9.8 million sale, 515 Beach Road, 20 million sale, 4 Riverside lots, 9.2 million sale, 11 Bamboo. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Who are these people buying this property?
Gosh, it's all walks of life. It's like there's not one set. Oh, they're all hedge funders. They're all finance guys. I mean, I've worked in recent years with the hedge fund finance, private equity, definitely, but people who own healthcare businesses, people, professional athletes as well. A lot of the families too. They have family offices or they sold the business too. There's very interesting stories of how people acquire their wealth. And that come down here to Florida, especially to shelter the tax implications of gains and of income tax, So it's really interesting to hear everyone's story, and especially when they'll freely kind of offer that up. But it's hard to say that there's one particular industry or there's just not, there's, and I enjoy hearing the American dream. We live in such a special place, such a special country that you truly can come from nothing. This isn't a country where your family has to be, 4, 5, 6 generations deep of making money, from whatever industry that they were involved in, and it's very separate and exclusive. It's not here. I mean, it's just not. I have so many clients that are self-made, and it's multifamily investors too, that have done extremely well, that were born, dirt poor, or they're from another country. They're from a country where it is extremely exclusive, and they come here and they're able to find incredible, financial success.
Yeah, I mean, you come from nothing, posting Facebook ads, selling over $400 million in real estate. So, I mean, you're a true testament to that. Hard work, drive, determination, and not giving up is what can make you successful. And I always, when I talk to new agents, like I was just talking to this kid the other day. He's a brand new agent, just got licensed, just got out of school, and he's working rentals. And so he's in the grind of rentals, and rentals are tough right now. Yeah. Lower end rentals, but he's in the grind. So I told him your story. I was like, listen, you just got to keep going. Don't give up. Just stick to it and constantly improve. Get good mentors around you. And, I know this kid is going to be successful, but, that's the thing, is like having the drive, not giving up, and just doing it. And man, in this country, you can do anything.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing.
You can kind of make a living on rentals now because the rental prices have gone. So, I mean, I'll tell you, like I was doing, some of these were $600 a month, and you get, half the month's rent, so $300 before the broker's cut and taxes. I mean, it's like, wow, I guess that paid for the gas to find the rental, But yeah,
what are
good for him. That's
like,
good.
what are the like the hot styles homes right now?
Hot style homes.
Like if you're going to talk to a builder who's going to build a luxury piece of real estate,
Sure.
like what would be your advice? Be like, listen, design it like this. Like, what is there a certain, like a West Indies, like a modern, contemporary? Like
Yeah, that is kind of like goes back to the luxury question. Depends on the neighborhood. Depends on the area. So if I'm working with a spec guy, they Palm Beach, the North End in particular, over the last few years, that British West Indies is just, it's over, and it's tried, tested, and true, and it's done very well. I would suggest a similar in Inlet Colony as well. The coastal, they love that British West Indies. And then a little north of Inlet Colony, like on Jupiter Island proper, it seems like the buyer profile loves that ultra modern, or that heavy contemporary. There's a architect, Scott Hughes, and he's a prolific architect, and he's done some really cool stuff up there on Jupiter Island. And then Mitch Kunick with Affinity Architects as well. He's built, and they're doing some like Southeast Asia, Bali kind of inspired builds now recently too in Northern Palm Beach County. So it's breaking away a little bit from the British West Indies, but I would say that neighborhood specific. The best way that I could answer that, because say you go into a neighborhood and sometimes you're not even allowed to, like let's say in town on Palm Beach on the 400 block of Chilean, it's all Mediterranean elevations. You can't go in there and say, I'm going to pop a big contemporary ARCOM, architectural committee. They'll just say not happening, no way. So you kind of have to blend in definitely with the neighborhood and with the buyer profile for what they're looking for. So that would be pretty neighborhood specific, I would say. even in this pocket, even in this immediate area. Yeah.
So tell me, if a seller is getting ready to sell his house on the Intercoastal, why would he use you?
Why would he use me? I would hope that there's a connection. I'm not for everybody, and that's okay. And I really am very fortunate at this point in my career that I'm able to connect with a lot of people, especially in the waterfront lifestyle. Because when I walk into the room, just like I said, I've continued to educate myself on the market and try to differentiate myself with my marketing plans and how I advertise and how I push out their properties and keep it, my main focus. So, like I said, if I walk in and there's a connection and we speak the same language as far as when it comes to the waterfront lifestyle and how to present the home in its best light, fantastic. Like it's about that connectivity. And then sometimes, like I said, you go say one out of every 20 or 15 appointments I walk in, and it's just kind of he or she might want to list it at a certain number, or I can tell they don't really want to listen to kind of what might think about staging or whatever it might be, right? Sometimes there's a disconnect, and that's okay. But when there is a connection, a lot of times, a lot of my clients over the last 10 years, they've become friends for life, like family. I mean, we travel together. We go to the Bahamas together. Our kids become friends. Like I feel very fortunate that many of my clients, even if I've done one transaction or I've done 10 with them, we stay close. We stay close, and that's the goal. Because then it doesn't feel so much like work. It's like working with like friends and family within the community. Yeah. So the hope or why they should use me or why I would hope, like I said, is definitely the connection, but also entrusting me in the process and knowing that I'm going to find. So when the buyer comes in, very quickly, usually I can tell if this is a good fit. I don't know what it is, body language, just how they kind of approach the house, how they're looking at it, how much time they spend in the home, and I'll start to dig and try to ask the appropriate questions, right? So say a guy comes in and he goes, I'm really trying to put my my 92 Viking behind the house, and we're on the river. I'm like, this isn't it, but I have maybe a couple other listings. So but then a guy comes in and says, I've got a, I've got a 36 yellowfin and I really like the river and the wide views, and he's in my listing, right? And the seller has employed me to sell it. I can really start that connect. Oh yeah. And this guy over here, he just bought a yellowfin as well. And, these guys, they go to the Bahamas all the time over here. And, oh, you have kids. Oh yeah. The neighbors over here as well. They go up to the Pine School, and I can really sell the house, the waterfront, and the lifestyle. Right. And the hope is that the seller understands that when I come and I meet with, husband and wife or single guy, single gal, whatever it might be the situation.
And I would say two more things. You probably wouldn't say these about yourself, or maybe you would. I'd say number one, you're an unbelievable negotiator, because I've seen you in the thick of negotiating and have some of the best tactics that I've ever seen. So you're, just an unbelievable negotiator. And also you keep your clients super confidential. Like there's a lot of agents out there, they get a big client and they will just talk all over town. One of the things about you is you don't talk about anything. Like, you keep things super confidential. So those are the two things that I admire about you as well.
Appreciate that.
One question to say, like a newer agent, sometimes you get these agents, or an agent will think, let's just say they want to sell golf club communities. But they're like, I don't live in a golf club community, so how can I sell a golf club community? Or I would love to sell waterfront real estate, but I don't live on the water, so how can I sell waterfront or certain communities? But it's not always like that. So can you speak to that?
Yeah, definitely. I think it helps, if you have a home on the water and you're selling on the water, if you live in one of the country clubs and you're selling in the country club because maybe you're eating breakfast there every day, or you're in the gym, whatever it might be. But that, it's your community, right? At the end of the day. So like if you're big into spearfishing or into fishing or diving, whatever it might be, and you're around those people, you're going to start to become friendly with them. They're going to start to trust you. You're going to start to hopefully gain their business. So I don't know how critical the country clubs. I will say, if you're trying to be the go-to person in that club, right? I think probably it would be critical to make that a goal. But what I would say, my advice to someone in that position, let's say someone says, I want to work in XYZ country club in Jupiter, right? And I would say, look up in XYZ who the top 1, 2, 3 people are, see if they live in the community as well, and try to try to work for them. Try to say, maybe obviously get a little bit of the foundations underneath your belt first, how to do rentals, how to do sales, how to write up contracts, maybe join a team where they can help you with that. But then in due time, really try to align and position yourself with maybe the main person in that community so that you can work alongside them. And especially if someone's, maybe phasing out of the business as well, best way to put it, as someone who's maybe 5 years, 10 years away from retirement, where you can be able to pick up their book and still give them a referral fee as well, in the country clubs, I should say. So
nice. Yes.
Goals. I think that whole statement, all the statements I just made, was really the idea of big picture. There's a lot of short-minded people, especially when it comes to sales. It's very easy to get your real estate license. It's a 7-day, 63-hour course, and then have at it. Go sell real estate, right? So a lot of these guys, because it's so quick to get your license, and they think, oh my gosh, and they look at the TV shows and, oh my gosh, and they show the commission checks, and they think it's this like fast money thing. And there's been clients where it's taken me 7 years to get them, or to help them to buy a home or to sell their home. So you have to really think of the long game in this. Really have to think of the long game. And that relates back to like agents in the community, the small sandbox, just doing right by people. And, that's the whole mentality there, I think, is long, thinking really long. Yeah.
100%. Give me one real estate story that comes to mind. Could be crazy, could be fun, could be tough negotiated deal.
I've been a few of those for sure. Yeah. It was funny because before when you asked me, you're like, well, what sets you apart? And it's always so awkward for, I said the connectivity thing, but it's always so awkward for me. Like, I'm an incredible negotiator and I'll beat them up and I'm this and I'm that. I'm just, that's not really, my style personally, to talk about myself like that. So the crazy story. So I don't know if it's crazy, but just something that I'm truly appreciative of. I think I'm truly grateful for this opportunity that happened about 7 years ago now, plus or minus. I had sold some homes around $1 million plus or minus, but I hadn't really broken into that. It's funny. It's like you just want to sell a home at first. Then you want to sell something for $500,000. Then you want to sell $1 million. Then you want to sell them multi-million, and then you want to sell something for, 8 figures. And now like I've done it, multiple times. I was like, man, I just want to do a $100 million deal, and there's people in my office that have, so like, I know it's attainable. And it's just mind blowing. There's probably 5 agents at the Douglas Elliman Palm Beach office that have done the 9-figure deal. And it's like, that's the whale, Mm-hmm. But anywho, so I'd done a few deals around $1 million. And when I was, 20, 21, I lived in a little studio on Palm Beach. And I paid $500 a month for rent, including the utilities. And it was the front was 4 1-bedrooms and the back was 4 studios. And it was a great lifestyle. I mean, just spearfishing, surfing. I was going to FAU. I was working at the skate park. It was a great spot. Small, like 200 square feet. I mean, size of this room, micro, right? Had a hot plate I cooked on. I had a beach chair. That was my furniture and a bed. And so it's all I needed at the time. Anyway, that was, like I said, I was, say, 21 years old. I'd gotten to know the landlord a little bit, and we became friendly. He was a very pleasant, nice guy. His name is Scott Diamond. He's part owner of Provident Jewelry. Just, Scott, if you see this, you're awesome, man. I mean, you can't, he'll never say anything negative, no matter how crazy a negotiation or the other side of the deal gets. Scott is just this positive, solid, someone I really look up to in business, So Scott, he was my landlord. I moved out. Me and my wife got together, have 2 kids, and Scott and I stayed in touch. And I saw that he had done a monster renovation of this property. The address is 252 Oleander Ave, just enormous renovation. He had partnered up with another individual as well. So he renovates the building, and he brings it to market for just under $4 million. And the investment partner also had a license and did commercial real estate. So they had listed it, but it wasn't done yet. And I think they brought it to market for a couple months, and it expired. I called Scott. I said, Scott, listen, I really haven't done anything at this level, but my character, who I am. Can I at least get the appointment, right? Yeah, you can get the appointment. So there's another gentleman in the Palm Beach office who had a relationship with Scott as well, from real estate. And I said, hey, man, I need you to come with me. This is a little bit out of my league, truth be told. So anywho, we go on the appointment. They had interviewed, 3, 4, 5, 6 different, agencies, all way more qualified than I was. But the person I brought was, he knew his stuff. He was solid. So it's me and this other person, this other agent from Douglas Elliman. And I didn't really have a whole lot of value to bring at that time. So I was just like the hype man for the other guy. I was just like, well, yeah, and he's done this and he's done that, you know? And that was like my whole pitch. But Scott knew who I was and knew how hard of a worker I was, and that I was just, you know, he knew my character and the connectivity. We always got along super well. They gave me a shot, you know, they gave me a shot, and it was, it took like 6-8 months. This is when stuff, you know, still took some time, especially in these price points, to sell. They'd done a beautiful renovation. The front 4 units they created into 2 and the back 4 studios, including the one I lived in. It was like, you know, everything was done in there. And we sold it for just under 3.7, and it took some time, but I was able to really build more of a relationship with Scott. Yep. And it was so cool to this $500 a month studio that I used to live in, then to, you know, full circle be like this, one of my bigger sales in the beginning of my career, and then to leverage that sale to really grow my business to what it is today. You know?
Love it.
So Scott,
man.
Thank you again, Scott.
Scott,
yeah,
man,
for the continued opportunities. Yeah, great guy.
That's awesome, man. What a great story. I love stories like that. Cool. Well, let's do a little rapid fire questions.
Let's do it.
And we'll wrap up. So, rapid fire number 1. What's your favorite hobby?
Surfing.
How many times do you follow up on a sale before you stop?
Like with a client? I don't. I don't stop.
I knew that's what you were going to say.
I mean, they have to, until they tell me to stop, you know, and it's like, you got to just stop calling, you know. But yeah, I'll just, it's, you know.
Persistence pays off.
Persistence. But I think it's doing it calculated as well. I think that's important because, you know, other people try to sell me stuff now too, right? And some of these guys, they'll call me every Tuesday at 10 a.m., right? And it's just like, you have to really, a lot of times, say I speak with a buyer, right? And the buyer, I can tell he's kind of rushed on the phone. You have to pick that up quick, you know, in their voice. And you don't get that through a text message either, right? So usually I call Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Mondays, people are very busy. Friday, a lot of times people are checked out. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I'll call at a reasonable time. And I'll speak with them. And if they seem rushed, I say, hey, it sounds like you're a little busy. No worries. Hey, when should I call you back? So I put the ball back in their court to say, like, well, you know what, Matthias, listen, the next 2 weeks, I'm traveling. I got this going. Okay, no problem. So I'll call you in like 3 weeks. Is that all right? And then when I call them in 3 weeks, it's like, hey, I'm just calling you. You know, you told me to call you late June. Just wanted to check in. How's it going? Everything is now a good time. You know, always ask now a good time, because you never want your name and number to be associated with like, oh, this pain in the butt. You know. So I think like I said, giving them the authority to tell you when to call back, because if you create like this checklist of, okay, every week this time I'm calling Bob and Susie, and you know, sometimes it's every 2 weeks, every 3. Hey, Matthias, we're probably not going to buy this season. I think we might rent. Can you check in October? No problem. Checking in probably like late September. I'll check in, try to get ahead of it. And oh yeah, no, we're still thinking about renting, but we're not sure. You know, just really going off of their temperature. You know,
pleasantly persistent.
Pleasantly persistent until they tell me to go away.
Favorite business book?
You know, I read a few that I like. I actually, at our company, I liked Frederick's book. I liked Frederick Eklund's book. And then we opened offices in Texas as well, Douglas Elliman recently, and we stayed in one of the hotels that was built by Tillman Fertitta's group. And he had this like kind of aggressive book, shut up and listen. But there were some points in there that I really liked as well. So there's a few. Those are 2 more recently that I've read that I liked. You know, Frederick's book, it's interesting. Something cool that he did in there is when he launches a new listing, like he doesn't have any showings until open house on Saturday or Sunday, whatever it might be, and you only can come between those 2 hours to really create that drive. And I think a lot of people have read his book now, because it seems like every like attractive, well-priced listing, that's what they're doing, and it's smart. I mean, it works. Yeah.
Lunch with one person, dead or alive?
Lunch with one person, dead or alive. Jesus.
Yeah. All right. That'd be mine too. Favorite local nonprofit?
Lori Griffith, Chasing a Dream Foundation, just does so many incredible things for kids locally facing, you know, terminal illness and battling other illnesses and diseases, and just raising capital. And it's specific for these kids, like the stories that she'll, you know, and I always tell Lori, please reach out to me. Let me know if there's a need in the community, because it's so cool. Large nonprofits are fantastic as well, but when it's a local level like this, the locals helping locals, the We Rock As lines that she does, all these different things where then she'll post on social and say, this individual, and we were able to do this for them, and this was the need that was met. Around Christmas too, I always try to reach out and say, hey, it's a lot of times like headphones or Justice gift cards for the girl. And it's such a fun, nice way to be impactful in the community. Lori's been such a vessel for these kids locally. So Lori Griffith, keep doing you. You're doing awesome stuff. We appreciate you. Yeah.
Cool. One word that describes South Florida living.
One word, not a sentence. You can tell how I can talk. So this is tough. One word: paradise. Paradise.
Paradise.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Best business advice.
Best that I've received, or that I can give, or
that you received.
That I received. Okay, so it's 2013. I just got my license. And I was hanging it with this guy, Lance Reed, and who owns Reliance Real Estate. Shout out to Lance. And Lance, at the time, like I said, I was doing a lot of rentals. So I got my license, passed the state exam, and we sat down at the Starbucks at Okeechobee in 95. I'll never forget this conversation. It's great. And he said, the most important thing is to listen. 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 He got so intense, and I was like, whoa, okay, man, But it really, really stood with me because he's like, there's agents out here sometimes, like someone will say, hey, I need a 3-bedroom for $1,600 a month and I have a dog. And the agent sends them $2,200 a month and it's a 2-bedroom that doesn't accept dogs. And then the client just feels like totally like, you don't give a crap about me, Yeah. So listening to your client and really taking it in, taking notes. A lot of times too, like I'll be on the phone, these follow-up calls, right? I'm on the phone with the client and, okay, call back in 2 weeks. Okay, they just bought a new Grady White. They're really honing in on Jupiter. They got family over here. So I'm taking notes the whole time, and I'm listening, and I'm putting it down too. So then in future phone calls, I can bring it up. I can, that connection, like the whole idea.
Love it. Favorite local restaurant?
Golden Juicery.
Good spot.
Yeah, it's my family and I we eat there. It's very convenient. It's right there, and Ethan, the owner, he just does a great job with it's all natural blended juices, acai bowls. He's got the Pump House coffee too. So the two brothers that have that company, Pump House, the coffee is just incredible. So the Dawn Patrol, the Nitro cold brew, it's like every morning, every morning. That's why I started going there. I was trying to find someone locally that had the Pump House coffee, and Ethan's shop had it, and it just, it gets you going. It's the real deal. If you want to be successful in real estate, Pump House coffee.
That's the secret right there. Love it.
That's it.
And last question, end of this year, December 31st, we're celebrating New Year's. Is the real estate market up, down, sideways? What's your crystal ball prediction?
I really believe up between now and then. This market is just wild. So last summer, everything got a little soft there for a couple months. Interest rates doubled. The stock market, it trended down a little bit. There was a lot of fear, a lot of hesitation in the market. A lot of people just kind of going on the sidelines. And in these last 60 days, it's just something has changed. The whole buyer, this kind of hanging back for 9 months or whatever it might have been, almost a year, there's been a shift. And a lot of this inventory is getting absorbed. I'm working with a client right now, right around $1 million price point. And it's like 3 different homes that have been on market for a while, that are bidding wars. On the market 90 days, 180 days. It doesn't even make sense. And then it's like, hey, highest and best is, it's like, what do you mean? You literally haven't done a price drop. You've been on the market for 6 months, So buyer confidence in the market is really strong right now, much stronger than it was. The interest rates have hit a certain point where I think people say, you know what, this is the new norm, and they feel comfortable with that as well. They're very accepting of it. I think it's hard, when you're a buyer, especially with financing, let's say back in July, where, in April, maybe they're looking in February, April, and they're, I can get 2.5%, or I can get 3%. And they look back and they look at the payment schedule in July for the same home at 6%, 6.5%. And they say, oh my gosh, what did I do? And maybe I'll just sit back. And now as time has progressed, they say, okay, this is what it is. And it has stabled off, and, it's leveled off, and they're very accepting. And like I said, just the inventory is still very low. So I think in the next 6 months or so, we're going to have a really strong second half of this year. And if you had asked me that in, let's say, August of last year, I'd say, I don't think it's going to go down so much, but I feel kind of flat. I always try to answer the clients pretty honestly, to set realistic expectations, buyers and sellers. Yeah. Right now, $1 million price point, 5, 10 million, all of this stuff, it's performing very strong, and I think it's going to trend upward too.
So you heard it here from a $400 million producer. Market's going to be up.
Well, what do you think? What does Ryan Brown think? This is I'm flipping the interview right now.
I feel the same, because we have a lot of clients putting offers in that are multiple offers. Now, we do the luxury, but we also do $100,000 condo too. But you're seeing it. I mean, you're seeing pockets of areas, and I think exactly what you said. If it's a renovated move-in house, those homes are multiple offers. If it's a house that needs a lot of work, those are sitting a little bit.
Yeah.
Price reductions.
Absolutely.
Matthias, this has been awesome, man. Thank you so much for coming in. I appreciate you. A lot of respect for you. It's been great. Learned a lot today.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Ryan. Thanks for all you do. Cross Country Mortgage, Ryan Brown. I mean, he's just been such an asset. My family all use him. I use him personally for my loans. My clients are all just taken care of by you. I mean, I've got a team, you know, I've got my inspector, I've got my real estate attorney, I've got my lender, and you guys just do a fantastic job. I can't speak highly enough about this guy. Seriously.
Thanks,
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for all you do.
Awesome.